I want our engineers to learn this for themselves and for their careers.
Welcome to Toolset, where tech meets the road, where CTOs share the tales and the comments sold. Startups do big names, innovations unfold. How many CTOs will share their stories untold?
Welcome, everybody, to the latest and greatest episode of How Many CEOs Does It Take? There's no guest today. It's just me, Scott Porad, and my trusty co-host,
Brad Hefta-Gaub.
and we are here for the summer catch-up edition, trying to find out what on earth is going on out there. It's just hot.
What is going on out there?
People are going crazy. I'll tell you what's going on out there. At, at the company I work at, we have some data pipelines, and we are in the progress of migrating those data pipelines from, I think it's something called DBT Cloud, to another service called Astronomer. Have you heard of
Okay.
Astronomer lately?
I have not.
You have not heard about the Coldplay CEO,
Oh, I heard about that. I heard
who is the
about that.
CEO of Astronomer?
Is that that
I
astronomer.
assume it's the same company. I did not go investigate directly. Brad, you know that in my career, I have a 5-year stint as a professional in internet memes.
Oh yeah, of course.
I
I
have,
can't has. I
I
can't
can't has
has internet
cheeseburger.
memes.
I can't has
I can't has them.
cheeseburger, fail blog, all those things. We did that for 5 years. It grew like crazy. We grew 22x in 3 years, the first three
Yeah.
years. And then our growth started to plateau, but like the first 3 years were madness. And I've never seen, I don't think I've ever seen something like the Astronomer CEO.
Blow up like that.
It's crazy.
I there's a couple things that come to mind. The first one, I think when I saw this, I was just like, look, like there's a few things. Like my personal opinion is like, hey, consenting adults, whatever,
Mhm.
like if that's, if everybody involved, it's fine. That's whatever. But I mean, hot take. You should have no assumption of privacy if you're at a giant concert. Like, I mean, you're on 1,000 cameras. Like,
Yeah,
what are you thinking?
that's right.
You know?
That's right.
So whatever.
The question related to our world has really nothing to do
Yeah,
with Coldplay. Although I should ask you, because you're a music fan, I think you're kind of a more of a punk rock music kind of guy. Where do you,
I like Coldplay. They're
yeah, where do you
cool.
stand on Coldplay?
I like them.
Yeah, I do too.
I like them. Yeah,
I mean,
they're good musicians.
nobody sounds like Coldplay. They got a unique sound.
I don't know about that, but
Who sounds like Coldplay?
I mean, there's plenty of other bands that try to sound like Coldplay.
They try
How
to,
about
yeah. Okay, well, here's the CTO question, a debate we're having at our office today. I had this debate today. Actually, it's been an ongoing dialogue. Distributed versus centralized data teams. So we've got a machine
okay?
learning team, we've got a data science team, we've got a data engineering team, we've got analytics engineering, we've got business intelligence people, all sprinkled all over the place. Everyone's all frustrated because it's hard to keep these teams in sync. So then you say, okay, well, we're going to put it all into one group. And then people say, oh, but we really, we want to empower people. We want to distribute it out there. And then you distribute it out there, and then everything gets out of sync and becomes a big mess. And everyone says, we need to rebuild the data warehouse. And then you get back to the conversation of maybe we should have a consolidated data team. Where do you stand on this issue?
Man, it's so interesting that you're asking this question. Um, oh man, I mean, where's Kevin when we need him? This is definitely a it depends answer, right? I think that like
Call back to the Kevin Goldsmith episode for those of you
exactly.
who weren't paying attention.
Yeah, Kevin Goldsmith. It depends. Um, I think that like here's where I'm currently at on this. I'm currently at isn't the whole point of kind of the modern data lake the idea that you kind of just dump relatively unstructured or pseudo structured data into a giant data lake, and then you can kind of do your transforms on the analysis side of things. Like that's kind of the theory behind data lake.
Hmm.
And I feel like one of the benefits of that approach is that it should allow us to not be so precious about our formatting and our in syncness, right? Like basically if the sort of like working agreement, I think you always like to use the term working
Hmm.
agreement. If the working agreement is that the teams throw their data into the data lake in a semi-structured way, and then any team that's interested in trying to analyze data can pull it out on their own and run with it. And that would kind of allow us to, you should have some, you probably have to have some kind of a platform team that's accountable for, kind of care and feeding of the data lake,
Hmm.
you know? But for the most part, you should then be able to distribute your analysts and your data engineers and your machine learning engineers. They should be able to, and even your, full stack engineers, they ought to be able to, if they need to, just suck stuff out of the data lake and use it. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know. Does that sound
Well,
like I know what I'm talking about, or does it sound like I'm just
I don't
full of
know,
it?
because I'll be truthful. This is not my area of expertise. I
Yeah.
mean, I have some experience doing the analytics work because I worked for a while as a product manager.
Hmm.
But building data pipelines, data lakes, all these different layers, et cetera, I've actually never done it before, so I don't really know. Um, but here's the thing I've come across twice in my career now, and I think is maybe the crux of the issue. And I'll just call it data definition.
Hmm.
So, you're running around with a report inside the company that says, oh, orders are up by 50%. And I'm running around with a report inside the company saying, oh, orders are down by 50%. And like, why? And it's like, well, I'm using this thing over here. And it's like, well, I'm using this thing over here. And it's like, well, why aren't they adding up? And it's like, oh, well, because you're using when they click the buy button.
Mm.
And I'm using when the credit card fee or credit card processes or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
And then people get very frustrated, and then what I've seen it leads to is this a cultural problem of distrust.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I can trust in this data lake anymore. Who knows what's right in here? And then
Yeah.
everyone wants to start over from scratch, right?
Yeah, but okay, couple quick reactions to this.
Yeah.
First one is 100% agree with you that like the definition of what the thing is, like that's like super important. You got to get that, you got to nail that down somehow early. Like I remember this, from our time at 98.6, I remember there were these reports and I was looking at some report and it was like, wow, that looks problematic. And then I was like, what's this thing, like whatever, and someone's like, "Oh no, 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 you're misreading that. That's not what that means." And then I had to like go around and talk to a bunch of experts, and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, you just mis. It's like poorly named. Like
Hmm.
it's actually the number you're seeing is actually a good thing." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like so then it was like to your point, um, if you don't know what the definition of the word is, you don't know what the definition of the metric is,
Hmm.
or people have competing definitions of the metric. And your examples are a great one, like orders. Is the order when they click buy on the shopping cart, or is the order when the credit card is processed? That's a great example. You got to nail that down. Um, that doesn't feel like it's specific to analytics or specific to data lake or specific to. That feels to me like it's kind of our common Rosetta Stone problem of to
Yeah.
make sure that the business owners and the technology people are using the same vocabulary.
And then it gets a step, we take a step further, and then I'll kind of tell you where I'm starting to settle. So then you build some sort of analytics layer that says has some value for orders. This is our blessed number for orders, right? And then the finance team comes along and says, well, this doesn't add up to the money that we have in the bank. What's going on here? And it's like, oh, well, because that's when they click the buy button. We decided as an organization an order would be when the definition would be when they click the buy button, they placed an order, right?
Yeah.
But then when they act till the actual money comes, you got to run the credit card and then you got to like actually collect the money, and then the I don't know even what happens downstream there.
Well, and
So
you might even have like some chargebacks
yeah, yeah.
and like there's all I mean all of our processes like if you think about it like even at the like we're running a chicken shack,
Hmm.
and it's like you don't it doesn't count the number of chicken patties that got used, right? Because
Hmm.
some of those might have got thrown out because
Right.
the customer returned the order or
Yeah.
something, or maybe they so you have breakage in all kinds of
Yeah.
all kind of revenue pipelines. That should be just like your hopefully your finance people are going to be like, oh yeah, okay, like these are the place we expect to see breakage, right? Like charge credit card chargebacks, of course, right? Of course that happens. That's like one of the hardest parts about online
So
processing.
here's where I'm presently landing on it. I think this is a rule that could be applied broadly. If kind of your scaffolding, so your data definitions, your analytics layers, if you have them, your infrastructure and pipelines and all those things are pretty dialed. Like those are solid. You're feeling really good about that stuff. Then you're in a position to like have a lot of distribution amongst your company, amongst people everywhere, splunking around in the data because you have the foundation. It's like the baseline in jazz. You have the foundation that people can then go improvise on. And if you're in a situation where those things aren't in a great shape, you want to consolidate. You don't necessarily need to have all your analysts in a separate team, but you want to consolidate those teams as much as possible so they can be really focused and aligned on getting those things straight. That when they're now, it's not to say they couldn't get those things straight if they were distributed. It's just now you're adding kind of a organizational communication layer to it, which just makes it one step harder than it needs to be.
My instinct is to say no to that.
Okay.
My instinct is to argue with you on this one.
Okay. Is that
I
because
think
you're naturally an arguer, or you believe in the openness of the
yeah.
internet and you just believe
Uh,
you just believe in open systems?
well, no, actually, my reason to question your kind of statement there is I think that one of the things I'm seeing nowadays, I often see, and I feel like I feel like this is a pretty common story, is people don't know what they want most of the time. They don't yet know what the question they want to ask themselves is,
Hmm.
right? On the data, what they want to ask the data,
Hmm.
right? And so often, so if your business is like mature enough that you know exactly how your business is going to behave, then I agree with your statement.
Hmm.
But if you're building any kind of a new product offering, or you're even trying to like, uh, kind of adjust or tweak the product offering,
Hmm.
or you're adding new products, I feel like when you first layer that new product on or that new approach on, you don't know what the metrics that are gonna matter are.
Yeah. Hot take. I agree
And
with you.
okay,
Yeah, I think it's as you mature, more and more metrics solidify, and then you kind of got to do that. But in the when you're in the molten lava stage, you got to just let it
right.
be.
So I spend too much time in the molten lava stage, right?
No,
Like that I'm dealing with these entrepreneurs that are building like new fresh systems and they're constantly asking me questions like, "Wait a second, I know I want to gather a whole bunch of data. I know I'm going to have a bunch of intent. I know I'm going to have this, but how do I know that I'm getting it all right to begin with?" Right? And I think this is where, again, like to my point about the promise of the data lake, right? Like that's the promise, right? Like throw it all in and sort it out later, right?
yeah. Well, I think when as a company matures, then you need both because you'll in theory you're always evolving and learning if developing in your business and will need to be learning molten lava things. But as parts mature, then you need those to settle into rock, I guess,
I
or
agree with that.
something like that. I don't really know what happens after
Yes,
molten lava.
rock.
I'm not a
It does turn
geologist.
it. It does turn into rock.
Okay, so that's okay. So data is one thing that's happening with us. We're trying to get our data house better. It's not bad. We had a little bit of
But it
turnover in
sounds
that.
like you're doing a pretty major transformation. You're going from one provider
Um,
to another.
oh, that piece. That's just for, I think that's just, I actually don't know. I'm not that involved in it. I actually think that's just sort of a small piece, which is whatever tool we're using for this portion right now just doesn't kind of have the monitoring and alerting, sort of the management layer on top of it, that you might
Mm-hmm.
want. And then we're using, um, then we're going to this other SaaS provider that I think just gives you a layer on top. It just gives you more stuff you want to stay on top of things. I don't think it's a huge lift. I could be wrong. I don't know. I only brought it up because the astronomer guy, and it was a segue into this. The real conversation we're having right now is, would we be better off if we brought our data teams together under one leader? We got about, across the company, we got about 20, 25 people who kind of have like a data job, or doing data science or machine learning or something like that. And we've been having this dialogue back and forth. Would it be better to have these folks under one leader? Not better. It was under one leader until about, I don't know, 2020, 2022, somewhere in there. And then
Mm-hmm.
that person resigned. This is prior to my arrival. That person resigned, so the company decided to distribute it out. And now, as things go, there's challenges, coordination challenges. So we're having this dialogue. Should we bring it back together? That's one of the things that's happening with us right now.
Yeah, one of the things that so here's my quick hot take on that question of like together or distributed. Um, I feel like um, data engineering is a very real discipline.
Hmm.
It's a art and science of itself, and just like any other software engineering uh, specialty, um, it it is the type of thing that you're going to benefit from uh, strong technical expertise and leadership,
Hmm.
right? Um, and it's the type of technical expertise and leadership that you and I have talked about so many times before, where like who are those tech leads that you really want? They're the ones that are really good at understanding the business question and being able to translate that into work items, right? And um, so the point that you were just making about the complexity of what do the words mean, what do the data points mean, and do the business people understand what they mean? Like this is a great example where the team that's building the solution needs to have one of those strong technical business leader translator people, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so just like when we talked about this before, like if you break up your team and you distribute them, that means each of those teams need to have one of those people that are really good
Hmm.
at understanding your business needs, your stakeholders' business needs, and translating those into technical solutions, right? And so that's why I started by saying it depends, right? Like, do you have the team members, or do you have enough of those people that can really advocate for the business owner, translate their ideas into technical solutions, and make it work? Or do you have are you do you have a dearth of those experts and those types of people that are good at that? And if you only have a limited number of those people, then you might benefit from a centralized organization where
Hmm.
that type of leadership can exist. Of course, the downside of the centralized organization is then going to be someone's got like the giant queue of tickets, right? And that's the other thing that happens, right? It's like
Exactly.
business owner X over here, business unit Y over here. They're like, why is, business unit X hates that business unit Y got in front of them in some reporting request, and you got to somehow juggle all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what we got going on. What do you got going on over there at
Yeah.
Stealth Startup?
Oh man, we got lots of stuff going on. I've got I guess uh wait, what did you say? How long is it going to take before we talk about AI?
Oh yeah, we're 20 minutes. Took us 20 minutes to
20
talk about AI.
minutes.
I was hoping we could get
I
through a
don't
whole
know. I mean,
episode without talking about
I don't think it's possible.
it.
We got
You might even be like an AI thing. I don't even know who I'm talking to right
right.
now.
I might be. Yeah, I'm not wearing a hat, so maybe it's a fake image of me. Um, I think so. A couple things that I got going on that are, I'm kind of excited about. One, I feel I'm just seeing more and more success with the team members that are good at using AI, and I'm doing more and more to try to coach people into being good at that. And you know, I've got I've got some really junior engineers and I got some really senior engineers. And the junior engineers, they've had a couple of wins lately where they, solved hard problems, and that's kind of exciting to see. I've seen some stuff where the more senior engineers that were maybe more focused on back end technologies have like moved into pieces in the front end and really succeeded where they kind of leverage the tool space that's available to them, so that feels a little bit like I think recently we were talking about the idea that like uh vibe coding, like it's only as good as the genie, but
Hmm.
augmented programming is as good as the programmer,
Hmm.
right? And I think I've just been seeing that play out, and so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, I I do spend a fair amount of time, like I've got my main team. We're about 10 people, and I do a lot. I actually do a bunch of programming for it, so I'm having a lot of fun, kind of solving some hard problems. That's always fun. Um, and I just, personally, I feel like most of my day is spent now conversing with the AI as if I'm the manager of that AI,
Mm.
and giving it problems to solve, telling it to come back to me with a plan before it does anything, and then me really thinking about that plan. Was that a good plan? No, I would make this change here, make that change there. And it's getting. I just like this. Just this morning, I was like, wow, like the level of problems I'm able to give it compared to 6 months ago, and the progress that it's making. I just kind of had a moment of noticing, like, wow, it's actually gotten a lot better recently.
So I have a few questions then for you. The first is a quickie. What is your tool set or stack? Are you using Claude Code? Are you using GitHub or OpenAI Codex? Are you using Cursor? Are you using Augment Code, Windsurf? What's your as they say, rate my rig.
Yeah, rate my rig. My personal toolkit is almost all Cursor,
Mhm.
so I'm using Cursor for a lot of it. But a lot of times I will also do work either in one of the web LLMs like ChatGPT, and I will have a conversation with ChatGPT around a topic. Like for example, today I was working on, um, our project has got a fair amount of video processing in it and video, live video streaming in it. And so I was looking into this like performance problem related to like, what if you have the same video stream going to two different video elements, like what's happening there. And it's a performance issue. Like you shouldn't really stream the same WebRTC stream into two different video elements because then they both do the decoding pipeline. So you're basically paying for decode twice, right? Okay. So like really interrogating that question of like, oh, well, like what are my options here? We've got this other layer that we use, Pixie.js, blah, blah, blah. And so I will pull up the LLM like ChatGPT and I will talk to it about like, okay, here's the problem I'm seeing. This is currently the basic architecture of what we're doing. Talk to me about options that I have, right? And then I'll like challenge it. So that's me kind of like almost rubber
Mm-hmm.
ducking
Hmm.
the idea with another senior developer, right? Like, okay,
Mm.
this is the thing I'm trying to solve. Here's my idea. What are your ideas? Give me four other ideas. Let's interrogate those ideas. Let's talk it through.
Okay.
The next piece of my stack is once I have that conversation in the sort of the web LLM, then I'll turn around and either ask it or I will craft my own. I will say, "Great. Now, write me a prompt for a AI assisted coding agent that explains the solution that we've just agreed
Mm.
to so that I can give it to the AI coding agent."
Brilliant.
And then I take that prompt and I go into Cursor and I give it that prompt. And then I again tell it, don't code anything until I agree to your plan. So first, do you understand the plan? Give me your plan, and then tell me your changes.
Okay, I have a few questions. The first is in the phase where you were interacting with ChatGPT and having the conversation about the solution, are you doing that by typing or actually doing it in voice?
Oh, I type it. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
typing it.
Um, Rats, I just forgot my second
A lot of
question.
time. By the way, the reason I type it is because a lot of times I've got to like give it code or give it, I'm gonna copy and paste stuff into it and say this is what I'm doing. Here's an example of code. Here's the stack trace of a Stack Overflow crash that happened. You know what I mean? Like I'm giving
Yeah,
it like data that's hard to
yeah,
say
got
out
it.
loud.
So, just as a side note, it'd be interesting to get these AIs to be more real. If you and I were if you and I were in an office, right, or even online, it doesn't matter,
Hmm.
and we had this situation, I would call you on a Zoom call or meet Google Meet or whatever. We'd get together in the same office. I would show you the error. You might look at it, and then we would talk to each other, right? It'd be interesting if these
Yeah.
AIs could do both. Like I'm going to paste something in here, and then we're going to actually have a conversation. Different modes. Okay, but okay. So that was just a curiosity. My next question for you is, you mentioned rubber ducking. Well, it's not
Yeah.
really rubber ducking because rubber ducking is like when you're trying to debug something. It's more like whiteboarding, right?
Okay.
That's like,
Sure. I'll buy
but
that.
what I'm
Yeah.
really getting at is we need to think of actually a phrase for this. I mean, someone invented vibe coding. He could be really you. You could
Right.
be the guy that invents blank, whatever that, because that there is that process of like where maybe if we were in a common space together, we are at the whiteboard and you draw like this is how it's working, or you show me the error and we look at the code and we interact with each other to solution. I mean, people call it solutioning. Oh, that's so terrible. Solution coding. That's somebody's
Yeah.
already got the IP on that.
Well, and also it's fair for you to say it's not rubber ducking because isn't the whole point of rubber ducking? It's more like I'm saying it out loud to the rubber duck, and it's me hearing my
Yeah,
own voice say it out loud.
yeah,
Where in fact I'm actually very much like going back and forth with this thing that's spitting back answers to me.
yeah. Would you want it to be talking to you? Like, would you want to hear a voice on the other end?
For me personally, I don't think so.
Mm,
That doesn't really. I mean that feature exists, right? Like I could actually use that with ChatGPT and just talk
mhm.
into it, and then because it's got a little mic button and it'll read it back to me.
Yeah.
I've done that a few times with the various Gemini has that and they all have that now, and that doesn't really. I don't know. That particular thing doesn't scratch my itch. Um, Another thing that been really impressed with lately that I've started to do is use it to create to do analysis of code bases that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, you're the second person today to tell me that.
Yeah. So, for example, I just started working with a new client that's like a couple hours a week of like just helping them get their plan in place, and they already have this existing code base that was built by a external agency team, and so it's like boom, I get this code base dropped on me, and they're like, "Tell me about
Right.
this. What does it do?" you know, and so literally, I just like opened it up in Cursor and just said, "Tell me
Mm,
everything you can about this code base." And um, what's cool about that is like I know a little bit about it because like the person has said like I'm trying to do whatever. It's a mobile app that um, you know calculates the square footage of roof sizes so I can estimate solar
mhm,
panel installations. Whatever. I'm That's not real, but I'm making that up. But
mhm,
I know there's an app that does that, right? So, anyways, so I have that much business context, and then I got this, you know, React Native app, right? And or I got a React Native app and a back end service and a whatever, and I just like tell
mhm.
me what you can about this, right? And it's amazing how good it is at basically like coming back and describing the architecture, drawing pictures for the architecture, um, and then um, and then if it's like okay, like non-tech entrepreneurs like and I want to like add this new feature, right? I can now start to have the conversation with Cursor and just say, okay, here's the feature description of the thing that this person wants to add. Tell me, like, how practical
Mhm.
does this sound? Like, what's going to require changes, what's is the sort of the general model correctly set up for this, and if not, like what are the risks of it, what are the problems with it, and it's really quite good. It's really quite good.
That tracks with something we talked about, I don't know, months ago. The study that we dug up from OpenAI, where they had took these jobs off Upwork, and the
Right.
manager bots did a better job than the worker bots. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And then you can take it and say, okay, great. Now write a feature brief for this feature, and here's the 5 sentences I know about it,
Yeah.
and write a tech plan based on the code you just looked at, and boom, it comes back with something. And you could even then, and actually, there's a we when we talked to Michael Natkin, right, he was talking about how he uses these things, and he recently, kind of shared his recipe for how he builds stuff, and this is very straightforward. This is a kind of a similar concept that I see a lot of people doing now, where it's like you basically use an instance of the LLM to capture your business ideas that you want, and then ask it to generate essentially a checklist of work items that are broken down in an appropriate staged manner.
Mhm.
Like first get login working, then get, whatever. Yeah, so I've been doing more of that, and it works really well. And then you can basically just give it those things and have it go start coding them. Now, I'm still a little skeptical of just let it run with coding it
Mhm.
because it still comes back with some random stuff. But maybe to your point, like the manager piece is much better.
You said it's been working a lot better. Broadly speaking, it's been working a lot better for you. And I'm curious to know, proportionally, is it the models are getting better, the tools are getting better, or just your understanding of how to use them is getting better? Like how,
Yeah, I thought
let's just say
I
it's
thought you were gonna ask
third,
that.
third, third to start out, but let's say it's equal, a third, a third, a third, but would you adjust it from equal?
Well, I agree with you that all three of those things are part of the mix.
Hmm.
I think that um, I'm getting better at understanding what it's good at, how to so the prompt engineering part of things,
Hmm.
right? Um, I think that's definitely happening. I think that for sure, I don't know that this is the models as much getting better, but the context window size of the models are definitely way better, and that's definitely helping a lot, right?
Hmm.
So like the fact that it can take more context is definitely making it be able to do more stuff. So I'll put that in the models are getting better. But another area, the third thing that you said was, are the tools getting better? And I definitely feel like the tools are getting better. Um, one of the things I've noticed, for example, is that I'll use ChatGPT as an example, but I think all of them are doing this pretty well. Um, you can now just ask it questions that are current event related questions,
Hmm.
and it immediately knows to start querying the web and
Hmm.
searching the web for real time information. Like literally, like this, astronomer
Hmm.
Coldplay thing. I was like, that thing came across my desk, and I was just like, what? What are they talking about? And I basically said, what's going on with this Coldplay CEO HR kerfuffle? And immediately it was able to come back with credible answers that now I maybe could have used Google for that. But the point that I'm making is that on it is the tools are improving to do more integration of real-time data by
Hmm.
searching for it and then
Yeah,
plowing that into the answer that it's giving you.
that's definitely, I mean, I read about that or watched a video. I can't remember. They do this. I don't remember the words that they use to describe it, but sort of there's like the deep learning where they train the thing on the whole internet, and then like they sort of enrich that at the last minute with
Yeah.
real time, and they're all getting better at that. In fact, I don't know if you've seen, maybe I'm just in a split test. I'm now getting something on Google called AI mode, which
Mm,
instead of getting this traditional search box, I'm
mm.
getting the AI box, the Gemini box, basically.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Um,
I Yeah, you are on an A/B split because I haven't seen that yet.
yeah, if you go to the homepage of Google, you might find a button or something to take you there. but it just called AI mode. And it introduced itself like this is our new search, like AI mode. And it was basically dropping you. They're essentially rebranding Gemini, not exactly
Yeah.
rebranding it, but repositioning it as just like the search box. Well,
Yeah.
that's all interesting. That sounds like you're having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I think that there's an element of this that's like um when I mean I'm assuming this will resonate for you, Scott, but it's like when you're solving problems quickly and you
Mhm.
feel like you're actually knocking them down,
Yeah,
right?
feels good.
That feels good. That
No,
feels good.
nothing feels
You
better
know?
than crossing stuff off the list.
It's a little bit like I I guess there's a part of me that's like um you know, I I got a brand new Sawzall and man, it is cutting through the drywall like crazy. You know, it
Yeah,
feels good. You know, to just like wow, whack through that drywall.
makes you want
Right?
to cut more things.
Makes you want to cut more things. You know,
Yeah.
so that's what I think. That's kind of my take on it. And you know, I guess I kind of would curiously I'd pivot this back to like I'm obviously down in these small teams, these really small teams, you know. So that's why I have the luxury
Mhm.
of being able to put my hands on the keyboard and write some code, which is also fun. Um, and I guess I'm kind of curious if you have a take on this or not, but at your level where you're way up above like a team of 100, what's what's it look like? How are you seeing? Are you able to see folks getting these kinds of wins? I think you had
Yeah.
previously mentioned that you guys have like a Slack channel that's like AI wins or
Yeah, we have a Slack channel. It's not called AI Wins, but it's basically called AI Wins. I mean, it's got some funny weird name because an engineer named it. But it's like temp POC AI, whatever. Yeah, we have some sharing going on, for sure. We just did a pilot. There are information security concerns with AI systems. So when you're in a little bit bigger company, it's a whole new thing. The infosec world is having to figure out is like, well, how do we deal with this stuff, right? And so as a result of that, my mindset for tooling like this typically would be let everybody use whatever they want to use and let's see what cream rises to the top.
hmm
And but that presented an information security concern, which I'm respectful of. So we just had 40 engineers do a 3 month bake off between five different tools. Um,
Oh,
I don't
cool.
remember them all. They were Cursor, Augment Code, Amazon Developer Q, I think as it's called.
That's
I
one.
can't,
Windsurf.
Windsor, yeah, I can't remember all of them. And so it sort of settled on one, which is like, okay, this is going to be the one, because every one of those kind of went through a security review, and the security team was like, you can't just having you bring this AI stuff into our world right now without some taking a
Totally.
look at it. And
Yeah.
then also with a lot of these AI tools, to get the protections you want at a bigger company, you got to buy the enterprise version. And so
Yep.
then that makes it more complicated to just give everybody, a credit card and say, go whatever you get what you want. And so
Yep.
anyway, we settled on this tool. We're starting to, one of the tools is, I thought it was going to be Cursor because everybody I know talks about Cursor, but the team really liked this tool called Augment Code. Um, I think
Mm.
in part because it, as I understand it, it does better with the context. And when you're dealing on an older legacy system, context is really important. Um,
100%.
yeah, we're seeing lots of wins. I mean, I'll just bring up two that I've just recently that I was really liked. One was an engineer who had to go fix like a shell script or something like that, something he really didn't have a lot of expertise with. And he was just like, he kind of posted after, he was like, oh my goodness, like I would have just never
Yeah.
ever known how to deal with this situation. And I mean, I still spent a couple hours on it, but like problem solved and like confidently, you know?
Yeah.
And then
100%.
another example that he shared or that an engineer shared was, oh, rats, I just lost my train of, oh, no, this is an engineer shared. I can't remember every detail of this, and I wish I could because it's a great story. We had some sort of performance latency issue happening. And of course, it was one of those things that happened every Monday at 8 a.m. So, like, and so it took us a little while to figure out what's happening on Monday at 8 a.m. We, it's clearly some sort of scheduled thing, but what exactly is going on?
Yeah.
And so we unearthed that, and we figured out, okay, we figured out what's causing this bottleneck, et cetera, et cetera. And what this person said was like, I don't think we could have fixed this problem without AI, or it would have been very, very time consuming. Not the coding of the solution, but actually understanding the code base and understanding what was
Mm-hmm.
causing, why seemingly an innocuous task that had never been a problem before was slowly getting slower and not just getting slower and slower, but slowing down the whole system. Um, and that the discovery, so to speak, discovery that the AI could help him do, again, allowed him to solve the problem confidently in a way that he just didn't. He's like, I just don't know if I could have ever figured this out. I wouldn't have been able to go through everything we have and figure out how it all
Yeah.
works, and not maybe not how it all works, but how it all fit
Yeah.
together in such a way that I understood how to deal with this. And so, and then we're seeing it, and I've probably mentioned this, we're just seeing lots of places where it just accelerates things. A guy came in the other day in our channel. He said, hey, our vendor thought this should take about 400 hours, and I got it done in a day.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Nice.
I actually
Nice.
said, his name's Jordan. I was like, did I hear that right?
You're like you like felt like, was it like the episode of Star Trek where like in the movie where like Scotty says, "Wait a second. You're not actually supposed to tell the captain how fast it can go."
So he didn't totally complete the job in that time, but he's like, yeah, I didn't get it all done, but like, yeah, this like sped this thing way up. And just lots of examples of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff that we're seeing. And so, in our organization, there are early adopters, there are late adopters. We're going to keep on advocating for it, as I have said to my team. And I know there's people on my team that listen to this, and I'll say it here again. Yes, I want to do this because it helps our company be more productive, deliver values to customers, deliver value to customers faster, blah, 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 blah. But equally, if not more, from the bottom of my heart, I want our engineers to learn this for themselves and for their careers, because this is a new tool that we have. And I don't know if it's going to replace everybody or if it's not going to replace everybody. I'm more in the not going to replace everybody camp, but nobody knows is the answer. And the people who are on the front edge of this, the cutting edge, or maybe not the cutting edge, but because the cutting edge are the people sort of working, building the models, but right behind it, who are learning how to use these tools, they're in the best position for their careers. They're going to be uh,
100%.
that's just the next generation. It's like, I don't know, I can't think of an analogy right now, but I really just, that's what I care about, is for the team and the people on the team. um, I don't want my coworkers, my friends, to get
To
left
get left
behind.
behind.
And
Yeah,
now there might
totally.
be some people on our team who are like, look, hey Scott, I'm kind of middle-aged like you, and if I get left behind in the next 5 years, that's fine. I'll be the COBOL
Yeah.
developer of the next generation, because I'm only going to work for another 15 years or whatever anyhow. So like, who cares?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just really care about the people and wanting them to be the best engineers they can be. And I think that the whatever these tools do for us, they might make us 10% more productive. They might make us 1000% more productive. They might make us infinitely more productive, such that we don't even exist anymore. It's the engineers that learn how to use these tools. Just like the cavemen that learned how to capture fire, that will,
Yep.
go the furthest, have the best careers, be able to have the most impact on the world in whatever way they want to have that impact on the world. And to me,
Love it.
that motivates me a lot. So yeah, we're seeing it and we're continuing to advocate for it. We're not forcing it, we're not telling people you have to do it, but again, like, the wheat will separate from the chaff eventually, and some people are just going to be more productive and more effective than others, and that'll, maybe not in 6 months or a year, but over an arc of time, that's going to separate out productive and effective and impactful engineers from those who aren't. And ultimately, as engineers, like, what makes us engineers? This is very philosophical. What makes us engineers? An engineer mind is the kind of mind that solves problems, right? That's what an engineer is, in my mind, in my opinion. Maybe that's a fact, I don't know, but in my opinion, I think about it. And I think there are people who have engineer mindsets, even if they're not software engineers or mechanical engineers or whatever, they're just solvers. Sometimes they're called tinkerers, sometimes they're called putterers, and um, now these are just tools that we have for those types of people. They're tools we have. This is the new game in town, at least in software. I don't know if it's solving anything in the mechanical engineering space or electrical engineering, but I'm sure it's solving something.
I think that that is a inspiring and compassionate and heartwarming perspective for you to have as a leader, and I think it's great. I'm sure that your team uh, appreciates your perspective on that, and um, and I'll just say that one of the things that I've seen recently on my relatively small team is some of the more experienced curmudgeonly
Mhm.
type developers who maybe were somewhat recalcitrant in their willingness to use the tool. Uh, they've recently been like, "Oh yeah, I, I, I clicked that Copilot code review button, and actually it had some good feedback, so I went and I
Yeah,
fixed it." And it's like, yeah, great, like
I think I think
awesome.
that's going to happen too. Yeah, I think it'll be infectious. Just like, I mean, the analogy I think of for um, AI right now, this is the best analogy I have, is IDEs, right? Integrated development environments. When I first started,
Yep.
there was people just typing text files. They had a bunch of text files open that they were typing in. Oh, if you're on a Windows machine, I just use Notepad, right?
Right.
Now,
I feel like I did right. I wrote some code in Notepad back in the day,
but there
Windows
were these other
3.0
guys that
days.
had Visual Studio, right?
Yeah.
And I personally loved working with Visual Studio because it made me powerful. I could do all sorts of stuff. I remember this crazy debate. This is so pedantic, but this crazy debate I had. Oh, I wish is it Control K, Control L, which was format?
Mm,
I think
maybe.
that's what it
Yeah, that
was.
sounds right.
Um, oh, we were having this thing. I was just like, we were having this debate about it. I was like, why don't we just all agree to just hit that? Then we don't even have to, we'll just let Visual Studio decide what the formatting's gonna be. We don't have to debate tabs or spaces or whatever.
Right, where the
So I
brackets
really
live.
liked Visual Studio. Yeah, exactly. I really liked Visual Studio because it made it powerful. And eventually now I think everybody uses an IDE, you know? And the earlier editors like Vim and Emacs have really become tremendously more rich in terms of what they're basically IDEs now. And
Mhm.
that's just the way it is. And I think that's the same thing that'll happen with AI is um, there will be people who still use Notepad, but eventually everyone will sort of see enough of it and be like, yeah, that is kind of better.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that's how it's going for you. There's a part of me that does worry about and does think like again I said I feel like you're uh a very compassionate leader, and your perspective that you shared I think is really you know
Mhm.
wonderful, and I hope that your team recognizes how valuable that is, that you bring that tone and that um, kind of perspective to the table. And one of the things that you know again I'm closer to the metal, but I always every time I'm in an organization that's large like you're in right now, one of the things that's always on my mind is how do we reach every
Mhm.
developer and make sure that they're being cared for and nurtured
Mhm.
appropriately. And that has taken many shapes over, what do they need to be nurtured on over the last 20 years has radically changed, right? And today it's like, how are we going to
Yeah.
keep up with the latest? And it used to be IDEs, and it used to be like the latest version of C++, or multi-threading. Oh, I got to stay away from multi-threading, or whatever. And now it's like, hey, this is the thing. This is where it's going. And so, you know, hopefully, hopefully every engineering manager out there is paying close attention to their team is thinking like, how do I encourage this more? How do I reward? How do I, you know, inspire? How do I get people to buy into this and not be afraid of it?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I think we'll keep on celebrating it. I think we have in our career and leveling guide, there is plank in there about exploring, adopting new technologies, those kinds of things. So that's part of a job of an engineer, right? And so this will start to show up in that space a little bit, I think. Um, I don't think now, I don't think in 6 months from now, but you can see in 5 years from now how well. I just think, look, you've talked about how this is part of your interview process. It'll be harder for
Yeah.
people to find jobs. Um,
Yeah.
and I also think I'm going to switch a little bit to the economic dimension here. People say that engineers are going to be out of a job. I'm not sure of that. And here's why I think that. Software is incredibly expensive to build. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but I have one of my very best friends is a home builder. So we often compare and contrast building software
Hmm.
homes.
Building software, building homes.
Yeah. And I mean, just software and building homes is expensive, but like building software is so expensive. And so the question you have to ask is, well, if it becomes cheaper, does that mean the world is just gonna build the same amount, or the world's gonna build more because it's cheaper? And
Right.
in every other part of the economic sphere, when costs go down, when the price of something comes down, people buy more of it.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
know that engineering jobs are going to go away. What was previously a project that maybe didn't have a positive ROI, so a company didn't want to invest in it, now does.
Now it does. Totally. 100%. Yeah. And in the spirit of like old guys with gray hair and gray beards, I will say back when Visual Basic was first announced, everyone was convinced that that was going to be the end of software engineering jobs because people were going to just be able to use Visual Basic to build their business applications, right?
Oh yeah, if we had a nickel for
Yeah.
every time.
Exactly.
Perhaps if the underlying world of technology wasn't changing so rapidly, that would be true, right? But like, let's just fast forward some amount of years when AI has reached an equilibrium, everyone's using it, we're getting all the value from it. Well, some other thing is going to change,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like the
Yeah.
ground is never stable in this business, which is kind of a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That was a place to end. This was a wild ride. We started with data lakes and we ended up in back on AI again.
Oh, actually, there is something. Can I give a little bonus, a PS to this episode?
Yeah, PS to the
Part
story.
of the thing that's gotten us into the data conversation at our company, which is to get AI to work, it needs context. To get context
Yep.
to work, it has to get to your data.
Yep.
Right.
There you
And
go.
so this is outside of the coding space, but in terms of like wanting to actually have, say, an AI bot that can come in and answer customer service questions for you or whatever, has to get to your data. And so everyone talks about MCP or whatever to have these models that can expose to other models and make it all work. But like, you still have to have like at the end of the day, it's garbage in, garbage out. You got to have that data be super clean, and you got to have it be, um, you know, it has to have semantic definition around it so that the bots can understand what they're dealing with. That's been part of what's gotten into this data conversation lately at work.
I love
So
it. I love it. It's a brave new world. It's a lot of cool stuff happening.
yeah. All right. Well, Brad, it's been fun talking this week.
It's fun talking.
All right.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next week.
Don't forget to do what?
Smash that subscribe button. Rate and review.
It's true. If you are listening all the way into like the 50th minute of this podcast, you must like it.
You
So
must like it.
go do
Leave
us
a
a
review.
favor. Go into Apple Podcasts or Google Play or Spotify or wherever you go and to give it a 5-star rating. Don't give it a 4-star. Give it a 5-star. The stars are free, so just give all the stars you can, and we'll be grateful. All
I
right.
was listening to this one podcast that had 5 stars, and one of them was halfway filled in. So
Oh wow. So somebody got
no,
a
that's
four
a
and a half star?
no.
Oh,
That was a bad joke.
bad
A
joke.
half star. A bad joke.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
Talk to you next week.
This episode of How Many CTOs Does It Take podcast was edited by Saffron Hefta-Gaub. Our theme song was AI generated by Brad. Please follow us on all the social media platforms at How Many CTOs Pod. You can find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, TikTok, and Patreon, or at our website at howmanyctospod.com. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. Thanks for listening.